Watching news at Prime, let's bring you this now. The Pietermaritzburg High Court expected to give a ruling on the application by French arms company Thales and former President Jacob Zuma to be acquitted on all charges in the arms deal corruption case. Let's get some context now. Vuyo Mvoko joining us live from outside the Pietermaritzburg High Court. Vuyo, good evening to you. Let's begin with what is likely to happen tomorrow before you give us a background to this story.
Well, it's essentially two applications. The National Prosecuting Authority wants to put an end to what some people have referred to as Stalingrad tactics. And that's where the former president has delayed proceedings, putting one challenge after another, thereby delaying to have his day in court. The National Prosecuting Authority says, stop, these applications must now stop. They want to proceed with the case as soon as possible. They say they have been ready, but it's the former president that has actually put every stumbling block there has been to those proceedings. So we're going to hear what the court has to say around that, whether it agrees with the National Prosecuting Authority that this case can indeed proceed as soon as possible. But there's another second application, and that one has to do with both the former president and the French arms manufacturer Thales, saying the charges against them or leveled against them should actually be dropped. And in the main, they are arguing that two key witnesses have actually passed on over the years, and they believe that that is going to prejudice their case, so they want those dropped. Now, this court in June last year actually differed with them on that, but they did file an appeal. So we're going to hear what the court has to say now about that particular appeal. So it's those two rulings that we're expecting really tomorrow, Toli.
Some context then, Vuyo, because as you alluded to it in your earlier response, the NPA has been at pains to say we are not the ones stalling this case. The so-called Stalingrad tactics are being applied by the former President Jacob Zuma and, of course, the co-accused. Take us back to that particular argument and where things are in relation to what we might hear tomorrow.
Well, I mean, you recall that this is a case that goes back more than 20 years, where the former president stands accused of corruption, money laundering, racketeering arising from an agreement he is alleged to have had with the French arms manufacturer Thales, where as the deputy president at the time, he had agreed, at least so the allegation goes, to accept or what amounts to a bribe of about R500,000 a year in order for him to ensure that Thales is actually protected, or its interests are protected on whatever probe comes in the way of this whole arms deal. You'll recall also that, I mean, there was a whole inquiry set up to look into this, which yielded very little. But that's a side issue. But he stands accused of being corrupt and of accepting a bribe from the French arms manufacturer. And that is what is really at stake here. And then 20-odd years down the line, the NPA believes that he does indeed have a case to answer, and impunity should not be, in other words, people should be accountable for their actions, and they believe they have a very strong case, but it's the former president who has actually stood in the way of that case being proved in front of a court of law. Even though it may be a century later, they believe that people should be held accountable, and the former president does indeed have a case to answer.
Vuyo Mvoko, our politics editor here at Newzroom Afrika, thank you very much indeed, giving us a teaser of what we are likely to hear tomorrow.